and putting in a regulatory framework to say, well, if you do want to create products and services that are Sharia compliant, it has to be under this kind of box that we've created. And you have to have the governance pieces in place. You have to have the oversight in place. You have to have the consumer protection mechanisms in place. And these are all good things. Doesn't mean that these banks are being shoved down their throat. Now you have to offer a Sharia compliant product for this community. No, it's up to them. But hey, if you want to, this is how you can do it. And I think that's a good thing for Canada. That's a new industry for Canada, right? This is new business for all of the law firms and consulting firms and audit firms on Bay Street, right? This is great. In 2003, this is exactly what the UK did, right? They created a framework, right, under the FCA, the federal, the Financial Conduct Authority, which is equivalent to our OSFI, and said, hey, if you want to be an Islamic bank, this is how you do it. And if you're a regular bank and want to open up an Islamic subsidiary or a window, a window, this is how you do it. And we're okay. Ahla wa sahla, come and do it, no problem.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I see the UK as several years ahead of Canada, even the US.
20 years ahead, actually. They started in 03.
Yeah.
21 years now.
They're quite a bit ahead.
Even the US.
Yeah.
Right? And you'll hear me, if you've seen me in radio or even in newspapers recently, I'm saying it loud and clear, like Canada is the last G7 country to adopt or create any sort of Islamic banking framework. Why? We have 2 million Muslims in Canada, growing to 3 million by 2030. We're the fastest growing religious base and fastest growing demographic. Yet Australia, that has 1/5 the amount of Muslims, 400,000, has created an Islamic banking framework, and we haven't. Why? It's good business. It's inclusionary, right? Right now, even if anyone wants to read a 300-page thesis, go ahead. But my doctorate.
I saw that on LinkedIn. It sounded interesting. I do want to read it.
My study was focused on Canadian Muslims. We looked at the social and religious determinants of adopting Islamic banking products amongst Canadian Muslim consumers. And there's this concept of financial exclusion, right? We always hear about financial inclusion, but there's actually a financial exclusion issue here in Canada, particularly amongst Canadian Muslims. And what does that mean? I'm here as a Canadian Muslim. There's only regular banks for me, and I'm only going to participate in the minimum amount of products that I need to operate my life in Canada. Why? Because I work for a company and payroll has to be deposited into a checkings account. I have to have one credit card to build up my credit score because nobody will rent to me without a credit score. Nobody will allow me to buy a car without a credit score. I can't even get a cell phone without a credit score, right? And that's it. So what am I excluding myself from? I'm excluding myself from all the other services, right? I'm excluding myself from actually participating in the fabric of Canadian society, right?
Yes.
I am not integrating myself as much as I would like to, because why? There is a system that does not agree with my belief system. And that's not good, right? We want, as Muslims, we want to integrate into society. We want to create wealth. We want to create intergenerational wealth. We want to create social influence from that wealth. These are all things that are positive outcomes by creating a financial system that enables, right, Muslims to shift from financial exclusion to financial inclusion.
That makes sense. I mean, that concept is very important. I know that many Muslims as well, they actually don't want to even have credit cards.
They don't.
It's just something.
But they're forced to.
They're forced to have it, and even myself included, I kind of don't really like the concept of credit cards. It's just the fact that they exist, and a lot of people get into a lot of consumer debt because of that. It's just easy to spend, and they get $30,000, $50,000, $80,000 credit limits, and they just rack it up slowly but surely. But instead, if we can come out of that credit cards, but still be able to build credit using prepaid credit cards or with other financing means, halal financing means, where you're still building good credit and you're paying everything off, and but you're not. It basically disables you from getting into debt just from bad practices. You just can't get into bad debt. That would be a really good direction as well. So is there something that could build towards something like that? I know on your website as well, I had seen Koho credit card
Yes.
product.
So that's a prepaid card, right?
Yeah.
And they have a credit building feature, which is what we loved, and that's why we partnered with them. You may have also seen on our website like a save and spend webpage,
Yeah.
which is equivalent to a savings, which is savings accounts for save, and spending account is a checkings account. It's in waitlist mode because we're currently in talks with some banks around creating a Sharia compliant halal checkings and savings accounts for our community, right? And you know, they would be the back office, we would be kind of in the front, wrapped around like a debit MasterCard,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
And you know, even from a savings perspective, you would actually get a profit, right? Which would come from, you know, financing activities through Menzel. That's how it's done, right? In the UK, they call it a PLS, a profit and loss sharing account,
Yeah.
right? So we're working on that. And again, the conversations become difficult when we can't show them the support that we're getting, right? So I would encourage everyone, right? Like, okay, even if you're not a Menzel client, go on our website, menzel.ca, and just get on the wait list, right? And say like, this is something that I want. This is something that I'm willing to participate in. Even if we launch and you don't get it, it doesn't matter, right? At least show the interest, show the indication that this is something that is of true value to you. And inshallah, once we launch with it, you can get it. It's up to you, and it'll be the first, because everything that Menzel has done has been a first, right?